Welcome to the Socialette podcast, where we empower you with the marketing know-how you need to create the business of your dreams. I'm your host, Steph Taylor, and I'm a marketing nerd, Shiraz lover, and passport stamp collector. Join me as I dive into all things small business marketing and deliver them to you in bite-sized, fluff-free lessons every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Let's get learning. Welcome back to the Socialette podcast. This is episode 41, Nailing How Your Brand Sounds. Your brand's tone of voice is pretty bloody important when it comes to marketing your business. Not only does it tell the reader or listener about your brand's personality, it also goes a long way towards making things enjoyable to read. So just like visual branding, consistent brand communication also helps to build trust, and it can be used to influence and persuade people to buy from you. So, imagine if your best friend suddenly started talking differently, maybe in a strange accent or using words that he or she wouldn't usually use. You'd be a little confused and maybe you'd be a bit concerned. So, a business is no different to a person in this regard. Your tone of voice should be consistent, and it dictates how your brand communicates with people. It can help to write down a little writing style guide, so that if you ever hire someone to write anything else on behalf of your brand, so someone like a social media manager or a copywriter, they can follow this style guide to keep everything consistent. Before we get stuck into this episode, have you checked out my brand new Instagram ebook that just dropped on Wednesday? It's over 100 pages of solid gold Instagram marketing advice on everything from branding your Instagram to actually converting interest into sales. Pop over to stephtaylor.co/shop to get your hands on it now. All right. So, how can you define your brand tone of voice? First up, I want you to think, if your brand were a person, what would they be like? Are they the life of the party? Are they the funny one in your group of friends? Or maybe they would rather stay home on a Friday night and binge watch House of Cards. There's no right or wrong answer here. It should align with how your brand looks and feels. So if your visuals are fun and out there, your tone of voice shouldn't be reserved or formal. Your brand personality doesn't have to be the same as your ideal customer or client's personality. It also doesn't have to be the same as your own personality. It can really help to think about your brand values and what makes your brand different here. So think about how you can reflect these values in the way your brand communicates. Next, I want you to think about what words your brand uses and what words it avoids. So does your brand use short, simple, snappy words, or does it prefer to discombobulate the reader and demonstrate its intelligence with long-winded technical words? Are there any particular words that are part of your brand or that are definitely not part of your brand? So, for example, does your brand swear? If it does, where do you draw the line? What swear words do you draw the line at? Do you use emojis, acronyms, abbreviations? These are all things to consider writing down so that you and anyone else can just pick up your brand's writing style and run with it. It's worth noting that you might have slight variations on different platforms. So the way you email a client might be slightly different to how your brand communicates on Instagram, for example. And that's fine, as long as it's not super drastically different. Your paragraphs on Instagram might be short and snappy, but on your blog, they might be longer and slightly more in depth. And also, lastly, with your brand look and feel, you shouldn't be afraid to evolve your brand tone of voice over time. Just make sure that you keep it consistent once you evolve it. I'm going to end this episode here as I have someone I'm planning on interviewing for this podcast on tone of voice and writing for your brand. She's much more of an expert than I am on this, so stay tuned. I will be getting her on the podcast very, very soon. Don't forget to head to stephtaylor.co/shop to get your paws on my Instagram ebook. Honestly, it took me probably about 8 months to write this ebook, so it is packed with some insane gold marketing tips. Please don't forget to subscribe to this podcast so that you don't miss any new episodes released every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And if you're enjoying the show, I would love it if you could please leave me a rating and a review in iTunes or Apple Podcasts. All right, I will catch you next time.